and welcome to Turn in the Corner. Today I am making a pot roast and some veggies in the slow cooker. So this pot roast, I got it from my bulk warehouse, and last night around 9:30 p.m. I put it in the slow cooker on low, and I just used some package seasoning this time. I just went to my local food store and got a little slow cooker pot roast seasoning just to make it a little easier on myself. And then I've been letting this cook overnight on low. So then this morning I turned it off for a little while so it could cool down and I could check the meat to make sure it was cooked thoroughly. This is about 4 pounds of round roast, and by letting it slow cook overnight, it tenderizes the meat and makes it really soft and flaky. And then so now I've just got it on warm, and I have another slow cooker that I am getting ready to cut up some yellow potatoes, and I am going to fill my second slow cooker with the potatoes and the veggies, because it always seems that my family and I have an abundance of meat and not enough vegetables to go with it. So you have enough for, say the first night, and then you are out of the vegetables and still have meat left over. So I am taking out the little black pieces with my little potato peeler, and then I will dice them up and I will put them in the slow cooker. Potatoes all diced up. Tried to get them in fairly small chunks. I have a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old, and their little mouths just aren't big enough. You'll note that I left the skin on because there's lots of nutrients left in the potato skin. And this is 6 potatoes, and it's filled up about a quarter of the pot, so I feel like that's a pretty decent amount. If you're cooking for a smaller family, this recipe would work. I used 4 pounds of meat, and you could use 2, or take 2 and cut that in half, just depending on how many you're trying to feed. And then I have my celery and some carrots. So we had some carrots in the fridge that I'm going to use up, and then I have a fresh pack that I'll bring out as well. I like to dice up the potatoes first and get them going. My slow cooker is already on. It's on a low setting because it's 9 a.m. and I'm getting dinner already, just so it can cook and do its thing without me having to worry about it. And then so the potatoes first, because they take a long time to tenderize, and then I move on to the carrots because they're also pretty dense and take longer to cut them up. And then I will do the celery, because if you do the celery too early, it tends to get a little mushy in the recipe. And then aside from this, I will add 1 small onion. I use a small one because onion is not my family's favorite food, but it does add some really awesome flavor to your cooking. So it helps everything out. Another thing I wanted to show you is that I like to make use of all of our food. So I compost even the bits that I don't use. So what you can see so far is a plum that nobody ate soon enough, and then some coffee grounds, banana peels, and then the bits of potato that I cut off that just they didn't look very good. They were already blackened, or just looked a little suspect, so I went ahead and cut them off of there. And then you'll also note there is some hair in there, and the purpose of that is that we have deer and rabbit and a lot of critters around here, so the human hair actually deters the animals. So I go ahead and put it in with my compost, so then when the compost gets ready to make into soil and I want to add it to my garden or around the trees around here to just try to deter the deer from eating everything before it has a chance to live. So bear with me, I'll get these diced up and then we'll move on. Yeah, the whole time I'm chopping and getting this prepared to go, he's been trying to help me with the veggies. He also thinks he needs to watch me, I guess, and make sure I don't cut myself or something. He watched me for a little while from the top of the refrigerator, which I thought was rather amusing. Now we have all of our veggies cut up. I made a layer of the carrots and then the celery, and then on top there that's some very, very finely diced onion. I get it as small as I can because, again, I said we don't really enjoy the onion, or at least, the kiddos don't, and hubby doesn't, but the flavor is wonderful. So if you dice it up extremely fine, then the little kids don't notice it in there because it'll get pretty it'll get translucent and it'll get pretty soft. So between the potatoes and everything else, they don't realize what they're eating. So then after I get everything mixed up in here, I just want to give it a little toss so that everybody gets in there together, gets all happy. Now you can see why I need 2 slow cookers to do this. Granted, if you go with a smaller proportion, you won't need to use 2 of them, such as I did, but like I said, we like a lot of veggies in there, so you just sprinkle in your seasonings. One of these days I'll figure out exactly what's in there and do it all myself, but until then we'll just make it a little easier. Such good flavor. I had already, before I started chopping anything up, I had put in 1.5 cups of water. So the packet instructions say that you only need 1 cup of water, but I find with this many veggies, I want a lot of nice juice and broth, gravy, so to speak, to come out with my pot roast and my veggies. So we've got everybody mixed in there pretty good. And I'm going to put on the lid, and I'm just going to let it cook all day long. And in the end, I will wind up with a very, very beautiful pot roast and veggies for dinner. And it took me a little cutting up time, little prep time. But aside from that, it's simple, easy. It'll cook us a nice, nutritious, home-cooked meal while I take care of all the other matters that a busy mom has to take care of. Another shortcut that you can take care of if you're in a rush, or you don't have time in the morning to cut them up before you go to work or get the kids off to school or whatever it is you've got to do with your busy day, you can dice up your veggies ahead of time. I've often diced up my carrots and my celery and my onions, and then I have them in a bag ready to go in the freezer. So all I have to do when I need a a slow cooker meal is pour, open the bag and pour it in, because all my prep work is already done. The potatoes, I have not found a successful way to freeze them yet. I have frozen them, and as long as you use them within a day or two, they're fine, but they will start turning black, just like as if you cut them up the night before, they'd turn black and they wouldn't look as appealing. So far, I haven't really noticed a difference in the flavor and the taste, but I don't know, it just looks like there's something wrong with it, so nobody really wants to eat it when the potato turns black. So there you have it. We're going to let this cook for about another 8 hours, so around 4 or 5 o'clock this evening when my husband gets home and my teenager's home from school. Then we'll all sit down and have a family cooked meal. Please tune in. I will be cooking new recipes, and as we progress and my garden gets going, I will be able to use my own vegetables and things in my recipes, and that'll be fun to experiment with. So thank you. Please subscribe. We'll see you again another day.